Problem.
Perfect. Hey, my peeps. It is the Goose Man coming back at you with an interesting conversation with Richard Martin, a fellow Panzer Corps fanatic like myself, who's done some deep diving into this great game and has some wonderful ideas on how exactly to set it up to make ultimate playthrough possible. All right.
Yep, I'm here. We're just Goose and I chilling out. We have a Discord channel as well. I don't know what we'll do with it, but for the two of us, it's fine.
Yeah, this is the Discord channel that we're connected to. He has a Panzer Corps, site?
Yeah, it's a server. Actually, you could even put in the description below a link to the server, and it's good for like 24 hours. And of course, after the 24 hours, if they are interested, they can send you a message or something like, hey, can I have an invite to the server? So it's not a big deal. So if anyone was interested in joining, just send a message.
Okay, how do I copy this server site?
Maybe I have to do it.
I'll tell you what. When I post this, I'm probably going to post it on Monday or Tuesday of this week, and then just add it to the like a comment.
Invite people. If you right click on the server symbol, there's an invite people option. Do you see that?
Add a server?
No, click on the Panzer Corps server.
Okay.
And then right click on it. On the symbol, the picture, and you'll see invite people.
Oh, okay.
And that will give you this like 1 day link that you can share with anybody. And
okay, I'll post that when I upload it. And it says hidden, use copy button, and then I'll copy it. Okay.
And later, it doesn't matter if they make it in the 24 hours. If like a week later someone's like, I want to join, you can just send them a link later. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So you were going over my PowerPoint. I think I found the power slide you're talking about. PowerPoint. It's called Core Composition, where I made some updates.
And it starts in the Luftwaffe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 20. I was suggesting 20 Luftwaffe units in total.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah.
So what I did is I pulled up my core that I started with in 1940 when I started my playthrough with what I had, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Should I share my screen?
Infantry, but I was sold.
Let me share my screen. That will make it much better for the audience. Oh, I just dropped my microphone. Give me a second, Goose. My microphone just fell.
Yep.
So if I were to just share, why are you not? Oh, hang on, entire screen. So can you see my screen now? That way they can see it. So make sure that you can see it so they can see it.
On camera.
I've put my screen up. I've shared my screen with you.
I think I see it, but how do I make it big? Pop out?
Yeah, there's a bot. Yeah, pop out. That should do it. So now you should see you can see my screen, right?
Yep. Now we're good.
That way when we're talking about what we see, they can also see what we're talking about. Yeah, so we have the Luftwaffe. Right. So you were going over what you had.
When I started in 1940, I obviously did not have this in mind for my core composition, and I only had 2 Hinkels at that point and a fighter bomber, which you would have never, well, except for Lent. You would have. Would you have kept him as a fighter bomber in 1940?
Yeah, I think so. You need some extra firepower in the air because, like, you have a lot of scenarios with planes, and you have
Mhm.
limited core slots. So you're bringing one or two anti-aircraft units in 1940, and you have the problem that they're not that experienced. So how do you kill the Air Force? You need a little extra punch, I would say. And Lent has that
And
extra punch.
yeah, I would I'm in total agreement with you there. So, but you have it, so you just buy one extra fighter unit, and the rest you just kind of
Yeah,
um, use the units as they go. I would say I understand where you're coming from, because once you get the hero units, you just want to focus on building them up. But since I don't, I avoid doing the safe scumming to get heroes. I would advise buying two and keeping the best of the two. I had one that got, actually, I did, I built up three. I
I
had one that got
actually
a +1 attack,
I actually
one
don't
that got
save.
an initiative.
I don't save scum for the fighters, but I probably should. I did for the anti tank in the 88s because and some artillery. One of the things
To get
that
the
we should
movement.
well, here's the thing that's really funny. If you watch Soren play, he's extremely, absurdly, unbelievably lucky with his artillery heroes, and
Yeah,
it's
he
just
is.
not the norm. I'm actually legitimately curious what Soren would do if he actually got a normal distribution of heroes on his artillery, because he cannot stand spotting heroes or like defense heroes. And if you look at his strategies, he has to have those heroes. Like
Yeah,
he has like movement and range on like Wolfram or something, or he's got
right.
two range or movement and range on this other artillery. His strategies will be a problem if you don't have those heroes.
And
That's how
and
delicate it is.
that and that's what I've found is I played through Yakovlevo, and I tried to match a lot of what he pulled off. But I don't have the heroes. I don't have the hero distribution, and so I also don't have the same buildup of
Yeah. That
experience
this is
on my
actually a great
units.
time to talk about one of the differences. Is so you remember how I told you the field marshal effect is the most scary thing about ultimate mode,
Yeah,
and the reason
yeah,
is if you don't get the 4 star by 43, it is harder. So when I originally built my plan for how to do ultimate mode, it was how do I distribute the experience as evenly as possible across as many units as possible and elevate as many of them as possible. Uh, because if you concentrate too much on the hero units, you're making your core weaker. And if you're going into 43 and your units are not balanced, you're not going to be successful. It's just you can't do it. So
well, what stinks is that you get Allenberger and Succus with like 150
yep,
prestige or
yeah,
experience or
yeah,
something insanely low like that. So I'm fighting with 1 star
yep.
in
So
43, which
so this is why it's like really really important that even your starting infantry get lots of love as early as possible, and you have to balance when do you deploy hero units and when you don't. This is something nobody under. I think I'm the first person to have really figured this out, that you do not have to use Oladir most of the time. You don't have to. You should use Warnsberger because you get him so late, and you need to get him. You need to get him strong as
yeah.
fast as possible. Pine, you're going to be using all the time because you get them so late. There might be a time in
Right.
45 you can drop them off, but Oladir and Kesha and all those guys, they're going to get their kills. Like, I mean, they get kills breathing. Like,
Well,
it's not
it's
even
funny
hard.
when you had comments on my units, and how you commented how the infantry that I had in Poznan didn't hardly get used in 40. I'm looking at all my units that I imported into 40, and all of them, I have most of them either at or near 1 star. That I don't have a single one of them at 2 stars.
Oh, when you imported in 1940?
I didn't.
Yeah, so that was a problem. So the thing about Ultimate Mode is it's unforgiving. So you have to delicately build up the core in what I think is a very precise way. Like if you notice, when I finished Wizgarad, all of my infantry units were almost at 1 star, and obviously after Modlin they were at 1 star, and that makes a big difference. And then you can push for the 2nd star after Modlin. I mean, you can be pushing.
You didn't post your Modlin play.
I don't have anything to add. But the point is, and I did this without elite replacements. So, because you need to save your prestige. So, you have to distribute your units and use them a lot. Like, those beginning units that you get, you have to kill a lot. You have to do whatever it takes to scrape together experience. And it's the same thing with the anti-tank. There are lots of ways to use the anti-tank and get experience. I mean, you should easily clear like 130 or 140 kills with your anti-tank.
I'm looking at him, and I have 70 kills and 198 prestige. I'm sorry, I mean experience. 198 experience.
With
on
what?
On the 3.7 centimeter pack.
At the end of 1939?
Yeah.
That's low.
I feel pretty good.
That's actually not that great. So actually, I didn't show a great example either because my pack took damage, which isn't really supposed to happen. But you can get them to 2 stars, and probably be pushing. Depending on some RNG, you could be pushing 150 kills, and it's not even like a huge stretch. Even though when you get to Norway, though, you kind of set aside the pack because you're going to get a Panzerjäger because you need to work on those right away. But you could push 200 kills on the Toad anti-tank if you were determined. But it's not a good idea because you need to get the other anti-tanks. So the thing is, in 39, I stated that is the time to get your anti-tank to 2 stars. The Toad anti-tank. And there's ways to do this, not so much in the first 2 scenarios, but you can get some good experience at WADs because you can just park your anti-tank in front of a tank and just pound away. And you can get great experience at Piatek. And Wizgarad is another scenario you can just wail away with the anti-tank. In Modlin, there's opportunities. So you can use them in Modlin.
So how many units would you have had to import into your core in? Because where are you at again?
I'm at Warsaw.
Okay.
I have weaker units, and I'm trying to find a way to make it work. But Warsaw is just frustrating. I find it to be the hardest scenario. And I'm trying to
really not Spoils of War.
Oh, I've solved Spoils of War. I mean that's right, been trivialized at this point. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Can you believe the time when Bricata was the first person to break that map on Manstein?
Right.
And that was a great achievement. And then I've gotten it to the point where it's trivial on Ultimate Mode. Like, what has happened?
Well, I just rewatched his playthrough of what is it, Albert Canal, and he didn't get a decisive on that one. And the Hague, nobody's got a decisive on the Hague. No.
Are you talking about Soren or Bricata?
I'm talking about Bricata and you.
I got a decisive. I showed a decisive. I showed a decisive at Albert Canal.
You did?
Yeah.
You broke that map.
Yeah. I used Soren's methods.
I did it.
Not only I broke the map and I got some extra prestige, I probably could have gotten more prestige with. I think there's some RNG components about how much prestige I can get. I only had to reload once because I didn't realize that my path was blocked with Oladir. So the trick is you go north with Oladir and then sneak in at the right turn to block the last hex.
So they're not able to build up
Yeah. So you have to move Oladir in this very specific way. Like you have to wait because there's this counterattack and you have to clean that up, and then Oladir sneaks through. Oladir has to kill. I have a video.
I know I'll have to check it out again. So did you make the a path to I forget what it is, that southern city that's off in the far left?
You can get the prestige there.
Free.
Yeah, I think I got some of that prestige. I think I got all of that except for the 2 objectives, but there's probably ways to make minor tweaks to my approach. Yeah, I got a lot of prestige on that map.
Yeah, it's a diverse map.
It's actually been solved. To Soren's credit, I mean, he basically solved it, but what I did is I accelerated it.
Right, because that's what you have to do when you watch Soren. You figure out what he does, and then you push it to the envelope.
And what's really tricky, especially in the beginning, is my units are not as experienced as his units. So I have to do all kinds of shenanigans. I don't even have the same heroes necessarily, so you have to do tons of shenanigans to mimic what he did in a different way, which is actually a lot of work. So I broke the Spoils of War map without using 38 Ts. Well, I had Kesha, but I didn't. I had the Panzer 1A, and I broke that map because I didn't want to spend the prestige on a 38 T that's going to get upgraded to a Panzer 4. That's how cheap I am. So I found a way to make the Panzer 1A work on that map. But
you mean 1A or 1B?
I had a 1A. I didn't even upgrade it to the 1B. I thought the 16 prestige wasn't worth it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just imagine you've got this pathetic Panzer 1A kicking butt on that map. But it involved like having a cloudy day on turn 1. You know, that specific mechanism. Because you have to make sure that the Panzer 1 doesn't get attacked unless it's under certain specific circumstances.
It's basically a trap unit.
Yeah, and it helps you surrender things. So Soren solved the map, but I didn't want to spend the prestige to do what he did. So again, you know, yes, I've kind of broken the map, but Soren laid the groundwork. So you want to keep talking about the Luftwaffe? Since I have the screen up here.
So if you're not going to, are you going to save scum your heroes? I mean, like, because okay, so I see what you have. This is the part I wanted to talk about with the fighters. You have 4 hero fighters and 2 SE, one given, and you buy one.
Yes,
but you do not get a hero unit until
Sedan,
until 1940.
Yeah,
in Sedan.
Yeah.
So it's like you think 2 fighters is enough to fly through 39 and
yeah, I've proven it. I mean, Soren's proven it. Yeah.
I just think
you know what your problem is. You're dismissing anti-aircraft. So okay, so here's what the problem is when I think about why don't people use more anti-aircraft guns. It's because you have to be brilliant to use them, because you have to know and remember exactly when the fighters will spawn and what the priority target is, and you have to previous moves before position your units so that they are able to move into the correct defensive trap on the time that the fighters attack. These traps I don't necessarily think of. Some of them I do, but Soren does. His memory is unbelievable. He's got a photographic memory. I have an excellent memory. I can play 30 move end games with remarkable accuracy, but there's too many moving parts for me in Panzer Corps. Like there's a lot. Like especially with chess, I can see everything. But with Panzer Corps, we have Fog of War implemented. It would be much, much easier for me if Fog of War wasn't implemented. But it is. So
you can play that way.
Yeah, but I mean, I think people don't like seeing it that way. I think it looks a lot more exciting if Fog of War is implemented. But Soren doesn't have this problem. He plays through a couple of times, and he remembers. He knows the triggers. He knows the hexes that they spawn on. I mean, if you watch him play, like he go on this hex, there will be something that spawns here. And if you know all that, then you just have to backwards solve where you put your units before you put the units. So
Right.
once you have all that down, the AA is the reason why you don't need more than what you have. So 2 fighters and you have helmet length, who's really good. So um, you're going to have an 88 gun that should be 2 stars at that point, and you're going to have another 88 that's at least 1 star.
2 stars and 39.
You should have 188 that is 1 star by the end of 39. That should be super easy. Like that should be that's not even hard. You should have a little experience on a 7-1. Maybe
Would
like.
you buy that?
Well, I was thinking maybe there's room for an anti-aircraft that spoils of war. You could get a 10-6, but I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look at what I did. Maybe there isn't room. It's pretty delicate. But you would buy that Lillehammer. No later than Lillehammer, you would buy it. Because you're going to need to take out that British fighter that's the Hurricane, I think. Or it's a Spitfire. It's really nasty. You need some help. You need to set a trap. So
My greatest problem with getting the mobile AA is utilizing them once the Air Force is done.
There's tricks to that.
It's a dead unit.
I'm like the only person. I'm the only person that's figured this out. I don't know why I'm the only person. Well, actually, this trick is kind of new because Bricata invented it in a sense, the double artillery trap. But I don't think he used it for anti-aircraft. I was the first person to realize, well, wait a minute. We have these units that have trouble getting experience.
Right.
They have excellent ground defense. I mean, the 7-1 has excellent ground defense, and so you back them up with some artillery. Sometimes double artillery doesn't stop the combat, and your 7-1 is going to...
It's best if it doesn't.
Wait, sometimes it doesn't stop it. It doesn't stop it.
Right,
the
if
7-1...
If it doesn't.
And then the 7-1 just
you
wrecks
want to actually attack.
So that's the thing, yeah, exactly. And so what ends up happening is the 7-1 destroys things. You're going to have like this mostly suppressed infantry unit, and then it's going to get really badly damaged from the 7-1. And that's a lot of experience, especially with the field marshal effect, where you're basically begging for experience. When you're playing on ultimate mode, you are on your hands and knees crawling through broken glass to get any kind of experience you can get as early as possible. So, that's one of the things I think you're kind of struggling with, is some of your units aren't as experienced because you kind of overemphasized other units. So my corps, that last attempt where I made a Sevastopol, it was extremely strong. I didn't have a unit below 3 stars, except for maybe Wernsberger. But he was very close to 3 stars, I think. So imagine all those 3-star infantry at Sevastopol. Many of them even had second heroes at that point.
That's insane. The getting heroes. I know we're playing on Monstein difficulty, so it's like you got that 5 extra kills per unit, but because you're playing with Guderian mode, you're not really getting the kills like if you're just playing straight Manstein. Because if you're playing just straight, you got all the time in the world to farm.
So that's why you have to be very, very... You have to follow Soren's methods. You have to be extremely aggressive. Unapologetically aggressive. That's tricky, though, because early war, this is very, very hard to do. I
noticed that he mostly doesn't even do the forced surrender. He mostly just kills them.
Yeah. And the reality is, I think that's the correct strategy for many battles. Not necessarily in 39. I think there's like some slick opportunities to get beautiful surrenders and rack up prestige. I've shown those. I actually discovered those. Like a lot of prestige. Like I can't believe how much prestige is just sitting there, and it's not even like it's intellectually challenging exercise. It's just you just need to be aware that that's the hex and that's the strategy. Like anybody could do this, essentially. And it's like, oh my god, I'm getting like all this extra prestige, and it kind of helps you buy those powerful units earlier as well. So so he doesn't do surrenders unless it's helping collapse a pocket. Then he does those all the time. Like if you look at his his Kursk battles. I mean, he's constantly forcing surrenders because there's just.
So, do you think once you enter the 1940 scenarios, do you think that each map can be broken? What point do you think the maps are just waiting?
I mean, the only ones that haven't been broken are the Hague, Sedan, and Marginal Line, right?
I thought Sedan was broken.
No, Brigada didn't get it decisive. No, I don't think it can be broken.
Oh.
I mean, I think that most maybe you can sneak a couple major objectives. I don't see any way to break it because the Air Force has spotting, the cavalry has spotting. There are ways you could sneak paratroopers in the back, but I always ask myself, well, okay, I take those 2 back objectives, but then what?
You have to
how am I dealing with the armor?
I've done it on Manstein, and what happens is the units that are in the backfield come towards you and decimate you.
And you're going to have even less experience at that point. So I think it's just utterly impossible.
What about like you think the Hague? I think you said that you think the Hague can be broken.
Yeah, I accidentally discovered. I don't know if I mentioned it when I did the Hague replay last time. I discovered that if you concentrate and flank along the coast, you can kind of like clear a path and maybe sneak Ola Deer next to that final objective. I would need Soren level precision. I would have to have Soren actually try it. You would have to be hitting like peak efficiency with deployment and execution, which is not something I'm not at Soren's level. But I think if I pointed out that maybe Oladir can sneak in back there, you just have to clear out the anti-tank.
Do you see Soren giving Ultimate a try at some point?
He's gonna be so busy with Manstein. I don't know. I mean, he clearly loves the game. He might, but I mean, he's doing plenty. You know, I mean, he's breaking maps in new ways. He's gotten more creative because he's had to.
Right.
But I think there's a very narrow path. But I think on the Hague there is a very narrow path because you just need to kill that anti-tank and then sneak Oladir up. Probably take an artillery shot. I'm not entirely. You'd probably have to find you'd have to somehow get another unit more vulnerable than Oladir, so the artillery would take a shot at it. That way Oladir doesn't get damaged. And I've already shown you can take the northern objective with no problem. So, the number of objectives isn't that many. It's just that the Hague is got a lot of units between us. So you gotta outflank that somehow. I think there might be a very, very narrow specific way to do it, but I found Oladir closed on it on the final turn. And keep in mind, I didn't even intend for that to be a part of my plan. So that was an accidental.
It is the most difficult map that I played through when I played through those maps, but I wasn't thinking. When I started Ultimate Mode, I wasn't even thinking that breaking maps was possible. So.
Yeah. I remember my first pathetic attempts. Bricata kind of showed the way. He showed that being more aggressive paid off. He showed that you can move very aggressively. Once you start studying the maps and you see what are passive units, that helps a lot. Even though, as the years go on, all of those tricks disappear. They don't play nice anymore. So yeah, 2 fighters works. You just need to know the traps. Some of them are pretty easy to remember. So I mean, one thing I recommend for Ultimate Mode players is you could have a second screen and have Soren just displaying his layout. And then you might need another screen to look at how I display the layout, or Goose, depending on which map we're talking about. And then you can look.
Soren, he plays with at least 2 bot fighters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, until Sedan, and then he gets Bear. You can do it. It's you got to trap.
He has 5, like where I'm at in 43, he has 5 fighters
Yeah.
deployed.
Yeah, you need it.
And so, right, but that's the one that you are awarded started with, the one that you bought. Oh, okay, no, I guess.
Yeah, 5
I guess the
fighters
one
at
that
that
you
point.
bought, and then the 3 fighters that are hero.
And by the way, this also proves decisively you need 4 AA guns, because I believe he had 4, and he
Yeah,
completely decimated the Air Force. And I think it
I'm
was
not. I'm doing it with 3.
so,
I bought one for Orel, a fourth mobile AA, and I regretted it.
okay. That was your mistake. You cannot go into Oral with a 0-star 7-2. If you
I
watch
just
my
don't like
playthrough,
them.
so if you watch,
Yeah,
even Soren isn't as good with them as I am, at least initially.
yeah,
Where I
yeah.
buy one at Lillehammer, and I think I buy another one at Albert Canal, and I rotate them. And then I farm at Reims, so that's another key part of my plan, is that there's a ton of experience that you can get with your AA there. In fact, I would
I don't know
get
how.
if I would get even more if I changed the no if I changed the probability of rain to 0, you would get even more.
Poltava, you get in 44, you get that scenario where you can get all those AA units.
Yeah, but that's really
for
late.
free.
That's really, really late.
Yeah,
And
it is.
it's way too late, and you're missing heroes. You can get 2 heroes on your AA. I mean, Soren
True.
probably can shoot for 3 with a little bit of luck. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if those guys were clearing 12 or 1,400 kills by the end of the campaign.
My 88s are going to get 3 heroes
Well, yeah,
easily.
I
I'm
like
still
how
waiting for
people.
my first hero on my 7-1.
Yes, you didn't use them early enough. So it's a snowball effect. You use them earlier to get the experience. What happens after they get the experience? They get more kills. What happens after they get more kills? They get their heroes faster. You get an attack hero early enough, then you've got fewer problems, right?
Right.
But I can see why people don't want to use them, because when I stop and look back on it, I'm like, okay, so unless your IQ is around 160, this is not easy. You know, like, or more precisely, you know, do you have a photographic memory? do you remember exactly, like, can you remember not only where the fighters spawn, but where they're, like, which units they will prioritize in attacking? And do you know where all of their spotting is? And keep in mind, there's fog of war implemented. So you know, assuming you're Napoleon, this is very easy to do. I have no idea how he does it. He just remembers an absurd amount of information.
Well, what I found interesting is once he got to Prokhorovka, he finally had reached a point where he said, "Okay, this one I need to split into 2."
Yeah,
this one is,
and he messed up. He messed up in the end. Like he didn't. He was really inefficient. It was kind of funny. I was like, oh my god, Soren can make mistakes. I didn't know that was possible.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
He made it. Into the first podcast. He just got slapped. Like, he was fine. He got the decisive. It was just really sloppy how he did it.
Oh wow!
It was not a problem at all. He was just farming needlessly.
He could have. He started it with like 45 prestige, right? Like a 45% soft cap.
I don't remember, but it was pretty low. I'm honestly surprised it wasn't lower.
Well, 40. It stops at 40.
No, it's 20%.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's plenty of room to fall.
Because I did it in Berlin.
He also made another mistake where, again, he doesn't think about auxiliary units the way I think about auxiliary units. He has this thing where I can't grab the airfield because there's a tank that will attack my infantry. And I was like, well, you get a perfectly good auxiliary 7-1 gun, don't you? Why don't you just throw that in the path of the tank? So he missed out on 50 prestige there. I'm sure he'll just like hit himself in the head like with his hand if I were to point that out. But I was very nice not to point that out. I mean, it's very obvious to me, but I basically have a Stalin-esque approach to my auxiliary units. I mean, you're just there to keep the enemy busy.
I'm getting a little better at that. I still have a tendency to want to minimize the total losses because I always think I might be able to use them later on. But once you get to the end of the map, it's like just use them for what they're
Yeah, I
there
mean,
for.
if you've got auxiliary units left alive at the end of the map, I feel like something may have gone wrong. I mean,
Well, I think this is a good place to start for this, and I would like to maybe touch base maybe once or twice a month and just get some dialogue going on this great game and see what kind of feedback we get from our viewers and see if they like us discussing this kind of thing and going back and forth.
yeah, I mean, they can see this first casual discussion and they can go, hey, I liked this part, I didn't like this part.
Right. Feedback is always helpful. I
So,
get a lot of feedback from my Battlefield Europe
yeah, it's
playthrough.
insane. I opened that up on my computer and my brain melted. I said, I am not Napoleon esque enough to even begin to process what I'm supposed to do with this.
It
Like, it
is.
is. I'm sure Napoleon would look at it and go, "Oh, I've been here before. I know exactly." I mean, he's constantly, he had to defend himself against multiple elite power groups that had more troops, more equipment, more money, multiple fronts sometimes. Just doing the impossible. That's something he's just very familiar with. I'm sure he would look at that and think it's a fun morning exercise. I looked at it and I said, I don't know what to do. So,
Well, and the thing about it is, I love Panzer Corps when it's played with these simple maps and the that's what I like about multiplayer is you're playing just these small little battles that you have these limited units and you know what they can do, you know what your opponent can do, and you're trying to outwit him. That's what I love about multiplayer is that you're playing against another intelligent person, not just some dumb AI. And so you
however,
have to think about it totally different. But
I don't
but
think the
with
AI that I've seen
Battlefield
from
Europe,
yeah, you're,
but with Battlefield Europe, it's so different. It's something that it took me a while to get used to. That the AI doesn't act the way a typical AI would act, and secondly, it is so massive that you have to prepare your mind. Okay, I'm going to be here a while, and I'm going to make sure I go through everything and think about what I'm doing before I just do it. And that gets to be the most difficult is remembering, oh, I better make sure I get all my fighters to come and mass attack this fighter or this fighter and bomber and make sure that I protect some of my bombers. It's just like, good grief, it's so much
yeah, my
everywhere.
like I said, my brain melted. I don't know how in the hell you do it. Like it's just so it's so glorious. I don't think Soren could
Yeah.
handle it. I think that kind of mod would be the absolute like I think his brain would melt. There's just too much. There's way too much information. Um, and there'd be no way he could play test it.
No,
I mean,
because I've watched it. I've been playing now, and it doesn't happen the same way every time. There's little things
yeah.
that change.
And since he's so
Uh,
deterministic about his approaches, it would drive him crazy. Now, I tend to like, knowing precisely in what linear way things work as well. And I think that's why my mind is kind of broken when I look at the mod. I look at the map and I go, I could spend 6 hours looking at this thing trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, and it will probably be the wrong thing.
Let me show you
It's
something. Have you seen the pack mod?
uh, hey, did you share your screen?
Oh, how do I do that? Okay, wait. I'll get out of
I'll
yours.
stop. I'll stop sharing.
And then I go to share my screen. And what do I do?
You just hit the share your screen, share your entire screen option.
Screen. Yeah. And streaming channel. Oh, come on, dude. Do I have to press go live?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sharing their screen.
Do you see the
Why is
Discord?
it not letting me see it?
Whoa, whoa.
That's weird.
Do you see it?
It's not letting me see it for some reason. I don't know
Here,
why.
I'm going to exit out of the Panzer core and I'm going to pull up the pack mod.
Oh, now I see it. I see.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see your family.
Okay. I'm going to move it off to the side and pull up. I think it's here. It's been a while since I pulled it up. And I think it's this one, maybe? No. Maybe this one.
There's cool stuff we could show them with the editor, like some other episode. Because you
This
can mess
one.
with the parameters.
Right.
Which I highly recommend in
That's
Ultimate
the
Mode.
next-
I highly
Okay, this is
recommend
the
on
pack
Ultimate Mode. Let's see. The pack
Okay,
mod?
so this is the yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is weird, but it's like set up like the game,
Uh-huh.
and you can play it like whatever. So then okay, well, I want to do the early Blitzkriegs, and I'll play Poland. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like. They have the buttons all set up. Let's show you what Ultimate looks like on Pack Mod.
I don't think I can handle that.
It's 75% prestige,
Oh,
75% experience. You have +5 strength, and so does the AI. You have an extra 20 turns.
I'm a little
AI
concerned. Why do we
really
have an
weird.
extra 20 turns? Why?
Right. Now check this out.
What the hell?
Oh, God. That's really loud.
Oh, they have like actual audio recordings?
Okay, so yeah, it's got him speaking. He's a regular happy guy.
I'm surprised that's actually allowed.
Well, it's
Unless it's not
it's
actually
meant to
him.
be
That might just be
broadcast.
his image. Okay, what do we have?
Right. Okay, so this is Poznan, right? This is Poland.
Are you talking about Grand
Poland-
Campaign? I'm confused. Or no, this is
Exactly.
just Poland. This is just Poland. Okay.
This is just Poland, and it
Holy
recommends
shit.
you right.
Is that map that big? Are you kidding me?
It's so it gives you all this background and all this things before
Oh,
it even
man.
sets up.
Oh my
Each
god.
day is. It's got all.
You need to
this
stop doing
background
multiplayer, Goose, because you need to make room for this.
stuff.
You're doing too much multiplayer now.
It's just crazy.
This is just
crazy.
Poland?
This is
Look at
just
these
Poland.
units. Wow.
It's insane. So you go, okay, I can buy 2 units. What do I want? What the heck? Look at this. You got
Wow.
all this just insane.
You can buy capital ship?
stuff.
You can buy
Yes.
submarines. How much is a capital ship? Is it like 2,000?
This is 350.
Okay,
A
that's
sub.
reasonable. What's a capital ship? It should be outrageous.
And yep, Scharnhorst
Yeah.
2700.
You're not buying any of those. I take it.
Nah.
And what's an aircraft
I
carrier?
haven't really looked.
Holy sh! I didn't know there was that many. I mean, look, I'm not a World War II like unit guy. I know more about like the history. of World War II, but these units things is
Yeah.
not my. A tanker is hugely expensive. What does it do? Is it just refuel?
I think it must be their version of an aircraft carrier because that's where it's found.
My lord.
Mm.
And there's other nations, but I guess you'd have to have their flag to buy from them.
Yeah, why would you have? Oh, because this in 1939 they would have Russian, and then you got the Czech.
Wow. I've never heard of the mod, no. Jeez. This is like Battlefield Europe will keep you busy for a couple of years, and then you're gonna be when are you gonna finish your England playthrough? You can make room for something like this.
England. I'm just finished. I just finished London. You know.
So how much is left?
That's about. I think 7 or 8 more scenarios.
Oh man, it's gonna take you a while.
And like halfway through, the hardest was getting to London because there was 3 different paths.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah, I wasn't understanding what the point was of this mod because I was hoping that I'd be able to go to.
Is by the way, is the Grand Campaign? Does this integrate with the Grand Campaign? So open that up. What?
It's the exact same, I think. As
okay, so Ultimate are the same conditions.
Except they got that guy. They got the great guy speaking there.
And why is there like
Postman 134?
Holy shit! Is there? Would this completely change the Grand Campaign?
Well, you can.
Why do we have an extra?
Like before.
Oh my god!
You get all these.
I'm curious if the cavalry has recon move. Whoa!
Recon
look at all of those tanks. I didn't even know there were all those tanks.
Right. That's crazy.
There's
you can buy a Panzer 3D.
Look how expensive that is.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? I've never heard of that. Like, I'm not a unit guy, so obviously I haven't heard of most of this stuff. Panzer 4A is available? How much is that? That's got to be an amazing tank for 1939.
This is slightly better. This is even more expensive.
The pre-Panzer 4D, I guess.
Because they did have them, they just didn't have very many of them.
So this integrates. That's crazy that this integrates with the Grand Campaign.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, if they don't give recon move to the cavalry in Crotchetson, they're missing out. Now I know you can.
Right there.
Yeah, but do they have recon move?
Yeah, this is the recon. This is the recon units.
And they're really cheap. That might be a mistake. Because recon move is so overpowered. How many movement points do they get on the cavalry?
On the cavalry, it looks like they got 7.
Oh my god, that's so much better than Deductor's mod, but that's kind of stupidly overpowered. Because they only get 5.
Yeah, because the map is still the same.
Imagine a recon move on cavalry that's got 7 movement.
Right. Yeah. And what was it, 120?
Yeah. That's
insane.
On the other hand, I don't know how, like, did they change other things? Like, is this really, like, is this super hard? Like, are we laughing and going, like, oh, well, that's making things too easy, and then we get punched in the face because, like, we have 20 extra turns. Like,
right, 34 turns.
Did they change the AI behavior? Did they add more units? Like, you could surrender here. Let's see what the enemy units look like.
No, it looks the same.
It's the same. I mean, with 20 extra turns, you could map wipe this. Like,
oh, easily. Yeah, not on any difficulty. See, so I think this ultimate.
Well, the problem with ultimate, you got 5 extra strength points too. Right. Yeah, I don't know why they call that ultimate. That doesn't make sense to me. You can do custom. Though. You could reproduce ultimate. That's
right.
But 20 extra turns.
Isn't that crazy? I do like that because I hate Guderian. That's my thing that I hate the most on the of the difficulties.
But you have to
the increased speed.
You have to admit, though, that it does force you to be perfectly accurate, or very close to perfectly accurate. You know,
Well,
just imagine if the Germans never made any mistakes for 3 or 4 years consecutively in any battle.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
they would have been successful, which, obviously that's completely absurd, right? Like you're
Right.
never going to have, not even Napoleon in some of his greatest battles of his life. He made tons of mistakes in those battles. It's just that his
Right.
opponents made more. So
I'm reading through Mellenthin's book right now on Panzer battles, and I didn't really like the book until we got to Africa. And now that I've finished Africa, I really, really want to play Africa Corps again. But
I want you to do it on ultimate mode. 'Cause I think any other mode you would you did it on double Rommel. And did you do it on double Rommel or double Field Marshal?
Double Rommel. That was the most fun.
Yeah, you were fantastic. You were in your element with that one. I would say either do ultimate mode or like double Field Marshal, double Rommel. But I think you might get crushed if you tried that one.
Right.
But ultimate, I think you would get crushed too. I don't know how you did.
I did double Field Marshal on Soviet Corps, and that was a cakewalk.
But if it had been double Rommel, I don't know if that would have been true. Like if you had double Rommel, double, yeah. Imagine if you had double Rommel, double Field Marshal.
Oh yeah, then that would have sucked. But I didn't really care for Soviet Corps.
Yeah, it's not that interesting. Yeah, you trivialized it. I was kind of like, you're handicapping. What are the Soviets even? What are they bad at? They're bad at experience, and then you're gonna quadruple hammer them.
Well, I did the experience thing, and then I also limited the amount of like heavy units that I could have.
I saw that.
So yeah, so I was trying to keep the soft cap until the very last battle, because that very last battle they purposely made insanely difficult.
So one thing you could consider is like a double Field Marshal, double Rommel, and maybe you up the turns by 5. I don't know if that makes it more reasonable or too easy. Or ultimate mode.
For Africa Corps?
Yeah. I definitely think at some point you should do another one. Because
I do. I want to. I've actually been trying to check out the mod that they talk about Rommel. They have a Rommel mod or something.
Oh, for Africa.
Also tried to download. Something. And then I also tried to download a mod for Africa Corps, like a different Africa Corps, but it didn't work, and I don't really know. I had my nephew here for the birthday parties, but I didn't want to hit him up for trying to figure out another mod for me.
It took me forever to figure out how the Battlefield Europe mod worked. Like, it was very weird, and I had to have like a mod manager. But now I can activate and deactivate it at will.
Oh, good.
Because there's a mod manager, so I think it's for people like you that like have a bunch of mods, but you can't always have all of the mods activated at the same time.
Nope.
And you have this button where you can uninstall it and then reinstall it. But the thing is, you got to get like the path correct and labeled right. The instructions were eventually clear to me, but I was having some issues. But yeah, I think you get a lot of material. I don't think you can do ultimate mode on Africa Corps. I'm just going to toss that out there. I don't think the Great Goose could do it. not in the base.
No, not successfully. But you can actually. I think what's possible is you can get marginal victories and you can keep going in losses. But I'm not sure what you will need to do in Gazala once you get to Gazala and Elam Haifa, doing those maps, so you can at least go down the. I think you only need a marginal to go down the winner's path in Elam Haifa.
I don't remember, but you know more about it than I do. I'm sure it's online somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to call it a night. Thanks again for the great discussion. We'll see where it goes next time.
Yeah. All right. Chill.
Thank you.
Bye. Don't forget to disconnect.
Bye. Okay.